right. Welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching. And our guest today is actually a repeat guest, so you guys know that we like her because that does not happen all that often, although we do have a handful that have made multiple appearances on this show. So welcome back, Cathie Nicholson. Hi, Cathie.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited to see you. Happy holidays.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're in a time of the year where we can start saying that already.
I know, it's crazy.
There are, what did I say? I think I saw today that there are 43 days left in the year.
I don't know. I'm not counting.
It's very few. Let's put it that way. It is not many. Well, tell us what you've been up to. We probably haven't had you on the show for a year or maybe more.
No, yeah, it's been a year, so I'm a once a year guest, which is, and I kind of like this my spot in your lineup because
the rotation
into the year, yeah. And so I can kind of, give my perspective on what a year it's been. So I've been trying to just keep my sanity and keep up with what's happening in the market and represent my buyers accordingly. So that's what I've been up to.
That's huge. You just listed off like the 5 biggest challenges. If I were to ask you, what are the 5 biggest challenges for a real estate agent representing buyers today? You nailed them. It's definitely been an interesting year to say the least.
Yes, definitely.
And I think it's going to become more interesting.
I think you're right. It's like weekly, I have to make sure that I'm on top of what's happening. Megan Aller helps me kind of keep grounded on the stats part of it. Even though
that's a great nod for those of you in the Colorado market. Megan's a title rep in town, and she is fantastic with data and stats, and she's really a neat lady to boot.
Yeah. So I use that as my foundation. My market in the mountains, Conifer, Evergreen, Bailey is a little bit different, but that gives me a foundation because I do business in Denver and in the metro areas as well. So going back to the 5 things, I think representing sellers has been ever changing because there's more buyers, but we also have more listings. And so the buyers have more choices. And so we're seeing more transactions fall out of contract and the sellers going back on the market. And as a listing agent, you have to counsel your sellers. We have to be open to negotiations and find a solution rather than getting defensive, because a lot of buyers are asking for everything. They're coming in, at list and asking for concessions. The 2-to-1 buy down is very popular right now.
Oh, still. Okay.
Yeah. So you have to, and the days on market are increasing, but there are those unicorn listings that go in one weekend still. So pricing is very key. You have to counsel your sellers again. Your house is not worth $1 million because it was, 2 or 3 years ago. So you have to price accordingly and then see what the market deems and see what offers you get. So that's very key.
Good database research, good communication, good information. These have always been staples. And the people that have been doing this as long as we have know this.
Yeah.
That's certainly a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to start to see some additional decreases in days on market.
Yes.
We're going to start to see more activity. We've obviously seen little bits and pieces here of some economic improvement, including mortgage rates going down, that kind of thing, even just since the election.
Yeah. Once the election was over, we had a little pop.
That was the big one. And I think the entire consumer base was kind of in a wait and see mentality when it came to the election. So we'll see what develops over the course of 2025 and 2026. But I am hopeful that we'll see some significant improvement in the economic pieces that drive real estate.
Right.
And I think we will.
Yeah. And I think as we get into the holidays, as saying happy holidays, and as the snow flies sooner in my neck of the woods than yours, but a lot of people will pull their listings off if they've been on for a while and say, oh, we're going to pull off for the holidays. We'll relist in the spring. And, I'm counseling my sellers that are in that position, or anybody out there, don't pull your house off. Yes, it's the holidays, but everyone else is going to be pulling their house off and the buyers are still out there. So, you have more of a chance to go under contract because there'll be less competition and everybody is going to put their house back on the spring. And that's the juggling act, Megan Aller and all the stats. When do we put it on the spring so we're not competitive?
Okay, let's talk about that in a more general mainframe because this is so true. And we talk about it all the time with loan originators and with real estate agents, but not really so much with buyers and sellers, although they are the catalyst. But yes, people actually do buy and sell houses between Thanksgiving and New Year's. It happens.
Yeah.
Is it as voluminous as what you would expect in March, April, May, June? No, of course not. There is a touch of seasonality to it. However, what we've seen and talked about for literally, 20 years now is that there's a general mentality that people don't buy and sell between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And as a result, most salespeople in these spaces, in mortgages, real estate, and probably in other industries as well, think that there's a holla month, not a holiday, a holla month.
Yes.
And nobody's going to buy or sell between Thanksgiving and New Year's, so I don't have to do any work.
Right.
And you're wrong. In fact, not only are people still buying and selling in that arena, but the agents that are still out there doing their lead gen work, constant, consistent, day after day, week after week, month after month, are going to be the people that represent those buyers and sellers because the vast majority of them are on holla month.
Exactly.
So, yeah, certainly a very big deal when it comes to lead gen, which leads me to something else I was thinking about. And well, okay, I'll get on my soapbox in a minute about why things have gotten so busy again. But one of the things that you and I had talked about before we actually went live is that you are actually not in your normal home office. You're at your church.
I'm in my church doing a fundraiser, a volunteer event.
Some volunteer work.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the not too distant past, I reluctantly, but did agree to take a board position with a nonprofit organization, a wonderful organization that's really just kind of getting going. They've finally started to breach into six figures for fundraising and these kinds of things. And I don't know if it's the mental piece of it, but volunteer work drives business.
Yes.
Now, that's not why we do it. And I don't know, I didn't know until our first board meeting any of these other board members. I don't know the people that are catalysts. Just for our audience's sake, for your sake, this is an organization that basically deals with palliative care in a pediatric arena. So literally children that are dying. And supports them and their families. For those of you that want to check it out, it's Kyle's Mountain House, and I don't mind giving them a little plug. I should probably start.
I've heard of that, yes.
So I've met the people that are the catalysts for this, whose children died as children, and they wanted to have this organization to support future people who were going to have similar issues. But it seems to just coincide with the fact that business has gone up. In the last weeks and months, we have seen an enormous increase. This might very well be our biggest Q4 ever. I've been originating loans for a quarter of a century, and we will celebrate our 20th anniversary as a company in the spring.
Congratulations, Adam.
Yeah, in 20 years, I've not had a Q4 that will be this significant. So it's great stuff going on that way, but the volunteer work is absolutely a big deal. In reality, and I just think that I'm interpreting this correctly. We know that 60% of mortgage originators failed to renew their license last year.
Oh, wow.
And I'll bet it's a bunch more that will fail to renew their license this year, at the end of this year. It could be 75%. So I don't have any competition. You don't hear about new mortgage originators. It's so rare. So I think that's really the driving force. People do still need to borrow money.
Yep.
So I think the people that are still in the mortgage space are probably all faring fairly well, or at least better than they have in some time.
Yep. I've heard it like either you check out or you dig your heels in. And a lot of people are checking out. Yeah. I'm digging in.
If you've made it this far, give yourselves a pat on the back. You did it. You'd
Yeah.
survive 23 and 24, which were absolutely insane times to be in mortgage and real estate. And we haven't even talked about what went on this past summer in real estate with
Right.
the class action lawsuits and the NAR settlement and so on and so forth, which I know it has kind of lost its luster as far as being a hot topic,
Thankfully.
but still having an enormous impact on how you guys are doing your work.
Yeah, it did.
So, yeah, I mean, just enormous type of stuff, and obviously provided a lot of entertainment. We can certainly talk about how the media is part of the
Social
entertainment
media,
industry. And then it gets into social media, and it gets even more twisted.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the number of comments, social media comments I made that were like, no, NAR does not make or enforce law.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do with that. And in fact, your state association does not make or enforce law. And here's some other news for you guys. Your brokerage does not make or enforce law. Your local board does not make and enforce law. If you are not happy with the way that you are being instructed to do things, then make some changes.
Right.
The bottom line here is you just need to be transparent, communicative, and all of these things that really, if you're a successful real estate agent, you've always done. Yeah, exactly. So I never really thought it was all that big a deal. The only people that really made out in that whole process were the tort lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers. Yep.
Which is entertaining. Yeah, I think all the consumers that had joined the class action lawsuit all got like $25 a piece.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I mean, and I like the silver lining. Again, we've always talked about it. And when every client I have, you go through the contract. That's been my standard of business. But now I'm seeing more communication with brokers. We actually have to, pick up the phone when you're writing an offer. At least I do. Texting is fine, but I like to pick up the phone. Hi, loved your listing. My buyers love it. We're writing an offer. What's your compensation? Tell me about your sellers. And it helps business because now more than ever, teamwork between the listing agent and the buyer's agent is more important than anything because we have to get through inspections, through appraisal, through property insurance together. It's not like I'm on this side of the fence and you're on that side of the fence. We have to work as a team. And so I think that first phone call sets the tone with, hi, I'm Cathie. I'm going to be bringing you an offer. Nice to meet you. Set the tone for the relationship for the transaction's sake.
I think that's brilliant. And you brought up insurance. That's another weird wrench in the works that we never talk about on the show, despite the fact that we have insurance agents as coaching clients. Very similar type of direct-to-consumer, large ticket item type of sales.
Yep.
And boy, yeah, being an insurance agent or broker in Colorado or California or I know there are all kinds of places that are having very, very significant challenges with property and casualty insurance. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I can't say that I've seen the insurance derail a lot of transactions, but I certainly have seen where the insurance has made things more interesting or created situations where another lender, likely a banker, not a broker, where they don't have a lot of options, haven't been able to bring it to fruition, which brings up yet another interesting point. I would comfortably say that a third of our work this year, our mortgage company's work, has been bailing out other transactions.
Yeah. I would say that's safe to say. Yeah, exactly.
Which is really crazy.
Yeah. And again, it's a new roller coaster ride that we're learning. So, I mean, this whole year has been a roller coaster of now we're doing this, now we're doing this. So you have to be, flexible and conforming to what's happening and learn quickly what's happening so you can, represent your clients accordingly. In insurance, in Evergreen Conifer, there's, all the big guys pulled out. Farmers isn't writing. State Farm is going to keep you if you're. Yeah.
I knew State Farm was one of the first to say, no, we're not putting new policies out there.
But State Farm we have some really good State Farm agents up in Evergreen, and they have embraced the real estate community and town halls, and they're working with the fire department. So we formed a committee up in Evergreen, a wildfire committee, and we're all working together to educate our homeowners. So when I take a listing, who do you have as insurance? Let's tackle this. Be proactive as you're selling your house. And, as the years come, hopefully everyone will be more educated on home hardening and defensible space, and their homes we won't have this obstacle. We'll go back to the regular obstacles of how old is the roof, instead of can you get insurance on your property at all under $10,000.
Right. And that's actually really interesting because we obviously talk a lot with buyers about their new homeowners insurance. And we hopefully talk enough with home owners. And I have a house up in the mountains in a wooded area. So I remember when the policy was first bound, that the insurance company wanted me to clear all the trees within 10 feet of the property, clear all the branches that were less than 10 feet from the ground, remove the pine cones and pine needles, those kinds of things. And of course, by the time they asked me to do that, the snow had already started to fall, and I wasn't going to be able to see the pine needles until March, April. So we did get a little bit of a hiatus there, but educating sellers on the fire mitigation stuff in order to make the properties easier to sell, the closings easier to happen, the transactions a little smoother when it comes to that homeowner's insurance piece is brilliant. And I don't think I've really heard about a lot of agents talking to sellers about the fire mitigation.
Yeah, we need
That's really cool.
Yeah, we need to be involved in educating people that are selling their house, people that are moving up. I have a pamphlet that I give to every buyer that I move up to Evergreen, Conifer, Bailey. Like, here's how you home harden. Here's the slash days. Here's your ambassador that's going to help you. And hopefully I can be a domino, and our committee can be a domino and do the same thing for, the whole real estate community. So it can be easier going forward.
Well, and we're talking about kind of a interagency network, as it were, because you're involving the insurance writers in this, the people who generate these leads for their clients, for insureds, and you're working with the fire departments.
Yep, fire departments, insurance companies, yep.
Which has also got to just be great networking stuff.
Yes, it definitely is. And the chambers. So again, the chambers and our Rotary members of the town. So everybody has, a foot in the game to share their education. And Colorado, we also popped into CAR, the Colorado Association of Realtors, with Colorado Project Wildfire, and they are actually hopping on a I can't say that word. Legislative level. You say it.
Close enough. Legislative.
Yeah. I mean, again, getting some, more stricter boundaries on the insurance people, that they can't just say no and cut people off. So it's a round the clock type of thing. So
it's a real problem.
It goes along with the volunteering, and I think, going back to that topic of volunteering and what I'm doing with the wildfire committee, and I'm a very successful agent as well. It's all about balance, because if all I did was buyers and sellers, show, write contract, I mean, I don't know, I'd be like a little worker bee that didn't have a break. So we all have different components that fill us up. And, we have passions that make us human. And so I think it's about balance. Obviously, family is in there too. But I mean, I think having your foot in multiple arenas helps you be more well-rounded and, keep your sanity throughout the madness of your job.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if there are, actually, we could have an entire episode based on things we can do to keep your sanity in the job. That's a really
that would be a good topic.
Yeah. It could be a very long list. I would love to start. I'm going to ask every one of our future guests. So tell us something you do to tolerate your insanity, to tolerate the insanity. It's definitely a big issue. Although I think that we're probably experiencing something similar to what you and all of these other well-seasoned agents are experiencing, which is really a significant lack of competition. And I know that historically we've always learned from NAR that 80% fail in the first 2 years. It's always been this kind of revolving door that way. And I'm willing to bet that number is higher now through 23 and 24. And obviously we haven't been able to minimize or eliminate the propaganda of becoming a real estate agent because you still have HGTV as an example, and new agents think that this is easy.
Right.
And
Exactly.
my schedule is going to be flexible. I'm going to hang out with my kids, and I'm going to see some cool houses, and I'm going to make a lot of money.
And it's so glamorous, just like selling
It's
sunsets.
so glamorous, right? I won't get into it too much, but there are some of those shows, one in particular that I know where the agent, for lack of a better term, that represents all of these really big properties in a really big urban area, actually landed the job as a reality TV star first. And then they told him to go get a real estate license so that they could do the show. You and I can talk about that off camera. And I'm not a big fan, particularly knowing that that was the case. That was how this developed for what is a wildly successful TV series of these agents representing buyers in high-level properties in high-level cities, so on and so forth. It's really interesting stuff. But yeah, I won't get into those details or get up on my soapbox about that, because I think that it does a disservice to those people who think they want to be real estate agents and don't understand what the job actually entails.
Right. And that's a bigger question too. We could have a whole episode on that. How do our industries get the next generation of real estate agents, of mortgage brokers? I mean, I'm involved also like in career days at the local high schools, and I'll have a high school 18-year-old. Yeah, I want to be a real estate agent. I've seen that TV show, and I'm like, it's not.
I've seen that TV show.
No. But it's just like, first let's have you go to college, get a business degree. I mean, is an 18-year-old going to pop into real estate and just run with it? I don't know. Like what's the age of mortgage brokers, Adam?
Old. We're old.
Yeah. So generally people have other careers and then they pop into this one. I work for
real estate is very common as a second career.
Yes. Yeah.
No question about that. But we've also got this problem that, and I don't blame them, but teaching people what the job really is absolutely counterproductive for real estate schools.
It is.
I mean, if they said, hey, yeah, you can sign up, but you need to know that 80% fail in the first 2 years, they could not tolerate an 80% drop in revenue.
Yeah.
It would destroy their business model.
People. Yeah.
Yeah, you're actually going to have to pick up the phone.
Yeah. You can't
That's an interesting, well, some, but this is, the phone is still a very valuable tool. And we do have a lot of younger generations that are not a fan. Right? Even though we still call the phone a phone. Yeah. And it's really not. It's more like a texting machine.
It's more like a camera.
Yeah. Okay, we do use it a lot for that. I'm guilty, no question. But you do actually have to pick up the phone. And I think the people that are still doing business today understand that the value of the conversation, the value of the open line of communication is a big piece of the puzzle right now. You said it yourself, when getting a buyer that found their home, they want to make an offer, the first thing you're going to do is pick up the phone.
Yes.
The phone and call the listing agent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to begin right off the bat. The very first thing that Cathie's doing in these transactions when representing buyers, ladies and gentlemen, is pick up the phone. The phone. Yes. Please do that. Yes. And for 1,000 other reasons, like there's money at the other end of that line, I promise.
Exactly.
Pick up the phone. Yeah.
Rip the Band-Aid off. You can do it.
Well, not if you're a high school senior.
That's true.
No, you can't. You can't do that. Yeah. Getting my children to talk on the phone is a nightmare.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. And
they don't want to do it. Yeah. It makes them very uncomfortable.
It's so strange. What an interesting world we live in. And of course, we've been around since long before the development of that technology. We were there when the first cell phone was just a phone.
Yeah, exactly. And it was huge.
It was huge. My first BlackBerry didn't even have a phone. It just did email. Right.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So we've certainly seen some bizarre developments there, and I have no idea what that looks like in the future. It's going to be an interesting technological revolution from here on out, particularly in real estate and mortgages, particularly with the development of AI, these kinds of things. Blockchain. I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in blockchain when it comes to real estate is eventually the Carfax for homes.
Oh, that'd be good.
Right? We put a new furnace in this house in
Yes.
2019. We put a new roof on this house in 2022.
Yes.
Those kinds of things. So that we can
Because
actually Carfax a house.
that would be a brilliant idea, because the due diligence deadline, the topic due diligence, explaining it to the younger, like, okay, due diligence, supply anything you have on the house, any repairs, your appliance manuals. Did you say you got a new furnace? Yep. Okay, you have a receipt for that? Nope. You're like, nobody has anything. You're like, okay, well, just try to find something in your email so we can give something to the buyers.
We hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, someday I think that technological revolution will exist. I do know some people that are working on it. So we're going to get there. And I think, gosh, we are going to have to get you booked for another episode right away, because there's so many other things I want to talk about, like what went on with the MLS system in the Denver metro area. And that change, because that was enormous. And what we're going to see, I understand that there is finally, and this is crazy, that there's finally a replacement in the CTME system. And for those of you that are not in Colorado, we have a digital electronic contract system for real estate in Colorado, which in my mind is still light years ahead of a lot of what goes on in the country. I own a house in South Carolina. It was way ahead of that. I just did a transaction in Montana, and I think there were 2 lines to fill out on that contract, like how much and when we're closing. And then I think you actually have your horse hoof print the contract to make it valid. I think you actually just have to have your horse stamp his hoof on there to make the contract final. So yeah, I've seen some things that seem very behind technologically versus what we have in Colorado, and I think we're still advancing that system here in Colorado. So there's so many of these technological things that you and I should talk about, but yeah, let's certainly get you on the books for another episode, because there are probably 3,000 topics you and I'll kick around.
But I kind of like the one, maybe you should have like 5 of us agents in one room and we can all go through and we can share how we keep our sanity.
See, and we do that, and you see the invites. We do our quarterly roundtable at the office, and I know coming down to the tech center isn't real easy from a time constraint. Not only is it 90 minutes for the meeting, but you're probably spending 90 minutes in the car on top of it to get back and forth. But yeah, that we'll do that for our next roundtable. How are you keeping your sanity?
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't know how you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know how any of us are doing it. The whole world's a cartoon, so it's almost impossible to remain sane unless you were already a cartoon character. There are plenty of those out there. Well, Cathie, thank you. I'm going to do my very best here to honor our window. And I know carving out this kind of time on a Monday morning is not an easy thing to do. So again, let alone for a second time, and we'll certainly get you on the books for a third and beyond, because we love having you on the show.
Well, I love being part of the show. I'm very honored, Adam. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And Cathie, just for good measure, how do people get a hold of you? What's a great way to find Cathie?
Yeah, CathieNicholson.com.
That is an easy one.
Yep. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway. I'm part of an amazing team, the Freed Up Home Group. So freedophomegroup.com, either one of those. 303-946-2332. I think you can Google my name and you'll get everything about me.
Yeah, probably. There's something that's really unique, and I'll end on this for those of you that have been in this for a while versus those of you that haven't. And this is true in mortgage and real estate. We're not hiding. So I had an interaction with someone trying to, a roofer selling roofs. This was at the local realtor board. And she asked me, do you have a card? I said, no, I don't have a card. Well, how do I find you? Like, well, my name is Adam Smith and I'm not hiding.
Right.
Google Adam Smith Denver, and guess what?
Yes.
There I was.
And there
So
I am.
yeah, so you guys can Google Cathie Nicholson, Colorado, and I promise you, you are not going to have a hard time finding her. And for the rest of you that do make it difficult for people to find you, unless you're like dodging the IRS, please fix that. Make sure your social media profiles are open.
LinkedIn,
Make sure,
Google,
your LinkedIn
Google
profile is a
review
huge
page.
one. Yeah.
My Zillow reviews are huge. I love it. So find me on Zillow.
That's a big one. And I'm not pro Zillow.
You know what? Everybody uses Zillow, so I'm trying to work with Zillow to grow my business. Because it's not going away.
Loves it. The consumer loves Zillow, and you've got to recognize that.
Yeah.
And your Zillow profile has to be out there. Consider it like any other social media profile. And yeah, I would say if you're going to focus in like a review campaign and getting people to say nice things about you publicly, between Google and Zillow, I would kind of have as a toss-up,
and realtor.com. So
yeah, I think that one's coming. I think homes.com is going to be a big one too.
Yeah, I kind of forget about that.
Their media blitz is big now and has been
with Schitt's Creek, Dave.
Yep. Yeah, with the Schitt's Creek characters, absolutely.
Yeah, actors. I love that.
And another big one, because I won't see you before then, or at least not in this capacity, where I'll be able to get your take and opinion for our audience. Pay attention to your industry and what goes on during advertisements in the latter part of the NFL season. If you saw homes.com ads during the Super Bowl, it would not surprise me.
Yeah, that's true. Totally true.
All right. So pay attention to that stuff, boys and girls. And Cathie, thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
If you've got another minute, I would love to chat off camera a bit. Okay. I'm going to run our extra and sign off. For those of you that are watching live or in syndication, thank you. If you happen to be a fan of the video cast, we do that at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And then you can catch the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon on Wednesdays. And we will see you guys next time. For any questions about anything that we do here at Just the Tips, check out justthetipscoaching.com. And we'll be back, not next week. We're going to take the week off for the Thanksgiving holiday. We'll be back after that in 2 weeks from today. And the rest of you have an amazing Thanksgiving. And we will see you next time.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.